The day's barely begun, but time is money. And in New Zealand, money is milk. It's 5 a.m. on a Saturday morning, and the humble hand milkers of the old days have been replaced by faster, more efficient machinery. Now it's all about volume, milking as many cows as many times a day as possible. These udders of white gold feed people all over the globe, particularly in China. And they help keep the entire New Zealand economy afloat.
You on early, boy? How's it going, all right?
Trevor Hamilton is a bit of a legend around here. He's a self-made milk mogul. He built a $140 million dairy farm empire from the ground up.
No, I love what I do now. Yeah, business is the best game in town. You just got to know how to play it. But yeah, I love the thrill of the chase. And hi, Andy. How's it going this morning? Good. There, good.
This morning, talk in the shed revolves around the latest drop in the price of milk.
And last year was a record year, so it's pretty good. So really, it's just about this year about holding our bloody costs in every which way we can. I'm going to have a managers meeting.
Global dairy prices have dropped more than 40% since February. It's been a bumpy ride for farmers.
So the cows like this were worth about $2,200 each.
$2,200 each?
Yeah. Now I take that with the milk price coming down, these cows will reduce in value, maybe down to $1,500 or something like that. Of course, the demand of the last 2 years has been insatiable out of China, but it looks like it's backing off at the moment as the Americans and the Europeans push production into China at a high milk price. It's going to put a lot of people under a lot of pressure on that basis if they haven't built a business that is sustainable around those levels.
The dairy cooperative that buys 90% of New Zealand farmers' milk to process and sell to the rest of the world is Fonterra. It says next year it will be paying farmers less for their milk. Maury Leyland is Fonterra's Director of Strategy.
Because there's more markets are more and more interested in milk, there's more traded dairy, so therefore you see ripples across the markets as there's different political, economic, climatic shocks either affecting supply or demand. So we've seen an increase in volatility. We really expect that to be the norm going forward.
New Zealand does dominate the global dairy market. It produces 19 million tonnes of milk a year, and 95% of that is exported. Most of it goes to China. In 2008, the Kiwis signed a free trade agreement with the Chinese, and around the same time, a deadly baby formula scandal in China destroyed its domestic market. So they turned to their Kiwi friends, and now the world's superpower buys a whopping half of all its dairy products from NZ. To meet its long-term growth goals, Fonterra is looking further afield.
China is not our only important market. Latin America, Southeast Asia, Middle East, Africa, these are all really important markets to us and continue to be. So yes, there's a big China story, but it's not our only story. For
Alastair Neville, every cent and every drop counts.
I grew up on this very dairy farm here and basically just following my father's footsteps.
At 26, he's taken over his family farm and the heavy responsibility of keeping it profitable. Some days are easier than others.
It is scary, but as I said, you just got to keep positive and just keep pushing to get those cows cranking and make up for any losses really, and just budget carefully.
The mornings are early, the days long and dirty. But he knew what he was getting into.
You know, it's a good industry to make good money in, but at the same time it's it's more than just a job. It's a it's a passion and it's a interest. And most people farm because they love it. It's all about sort of farming smarter and not harder.
And hoping his biggest customer stays hungry.
China's always going to need food, so we just sort of hope that we can keep feeding them.
Dave Baker doesn't depend on China. Most of his milk is sold to Japan. And that's not the only thing that makes him different from most Kiwi dairy farmers.
It all thanks to the hard-working cows. The cows do all the work for me while I party on.
Dave offered me a lift through cow country. He drives fast and he works hard, running a high-density feed farm.
Come on, look.
The property is worth $4.2 million, and he reckons it's the best dairy farming land in the country. The profits he's made in the dairy boom have bought him plenty of big boys' toys.
The engine's worth about $5,000. This is my leisure bus for when we're partying.
After all, what dairy farm is complete without a party bus? Dave told me that if the market for milk sours, he'll be fine. He inherited the farm, and the land is valuable. It's invaluable, according to environmental activist and economist Gareth Morgan.
When you do the surveys of what people value in the environment in New Zealand, fresh water is actually #1 by a mile, far more than pest eradication, far more actually than climate change.
Kiwis are rightly proud of their 100% pure reputation. But Gareth fears the famous brand is now at risk because of the dairy farming boom.
Putting more and more cows per hectare, more and more fertiliser, and there's your nitrogen problem. So we're bursting at the seams here in terms of capacity.
Because more farms mean more cows. More cows mean more waste. That contains nitrogen and phosphorus. And when they leach into rivers and lakes, water quality suffers. That's a worry for New Zealand's Parliamentary Commissioner for the Environment, who's already warning of increased stresses to water quality. There's talk of regulatory sanctions if farmers don't work harder to protect the environment.
Is it a question of the environment or the economy?
It's certainly being posted like that by a lot of people, and if we continue our current dairy practice, if we don't adapt, it will be a bit environment versus economy, yes. The problem's so big, particularly with the leaching from the intensification. And so I think what's required is a change in farming method to less intensive farming, and that's hard to do.
Unless you can afford more environmentally sound methods, which Trevor Hamilton can.
We've probably spent $250,000 in the last couple of years just in this couple of farms that are in the catchment in terms of lined effluent, ponds, testing effluent, testing the depth of effluent.
While he may work on a farm, Trevor lives on a lake, a clean one. And proof, he says, farmers aren't all bad.
We tend to get the blame for a lot that I don't think is rightly sometimes justified.
Is it unusual for this lake to be so clean given that it's surrounded by so many dairy farms?
I think it blows the theory completely that dairy farmers are the polluters.
He told me it's in his best interest to look after the environment and his business. The future of his family depends on it.
You show me how it goes. How are you? Now that's how you breed farmers.
Trevor has big plans for his kids and for his grandkids too.
Have a drink of milk, mate. It's got to be good for you. It's got to be good for you, that milk. Especially when they're nice square udders.
Global demand will rise and fall, but Trevor's not going anywhere. He believes for the smart dairy farmer, the grass will always be greener in New Zealand.
For me, it's a $140 million, $50 million business today. I want to double it in the next 5 years and probably double it again, and that's been our rate of growth. And so I want to continue with that so long as I'm capable. We're chasing a rainbow, so the rainbow has no end.